It's a fresh story, come and see. With Olivia and Jenny, be who you need to be. Honest voices, safe and strong. Come as you are, you belong. So take a breath, let's begin. You're not alone, we're here again.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to A Fresh Story. This season, as you know, we are diving into all different families. How did you create your family? Who is in your family? We're a little bit obsessed with families. So today, I'm really excited to have David and Danny here. Can you guys tell us a little bit about who you are?
Yeah. You want to go first? Sure. Hi, I'm Danny Auld. I'm an educational psychologist. I worked for 20 years in 2 different universities in New York. And this is my husband, David. And we always wanted to be dads. So we have a now 12-year-old son. We also live with both of our moms. Both of them moved in with us. And it's kind of an interesting household. And my sister. Yes, and David's sister as well. She's here as well. And so there's and so 5 years ago, I left my tenured job at the university to work with David to start Kekoa Foods, an organic baby food company, which we'll tell you about.
Wow, there's so much I want to unpack there. Okay, so first of all, you guys have the best energy. I'm so excited for this conversation. Okay, so take us back. How did you two meet, first of all?
We met 21 years ago, not that we're counting, and during softball, and it was the spring. Danny was the coach. I was trying out, or sometimes we like to call it auditioning. And he picked me for the team and played the whole season, and waited until the season was over. I wanted to be proper, and then asked him out on a date, and then and we dated for a while, and then we got married in 2010.
Were you living in New York at the time?
I was in the East Village, and Danny was in New Jersey.
Very nice. I was wondering where you worked, Danny, at what universities you worked at.
Sure, yeah. So I was at Fordham University School of Law, and that gave me the opportunity to work on my doctorate while I was there.
Awesome.
And then I moved over to John Jay College of Criminal Justice, part of the CUNY system. And so there, I did different work at different times, kind of working with students who were looking for a little more academic support to catch up and excel. And then students who were all caught up, but kind of looking for new opportunities. So helping them to kind of spotlight their achievements so that they could go on to the next best opportunity after college.
Wow,
Very
I love
cool.
that. So you are smart and athletic at the same time.
I tend to be, yes.
No, he is. He is.
I love that.
You guys get married. Where did you get married?
Well, technically, we got married at Rest Stop Number 1 in Connecticut.
Yeah, on Orange Parkway.
Because gay marriage is only legal in a few states.
Yep.
And so we had family in the ceremony that was happening in New Jersey. Both the reception was in West Orange. The church ceremony was actually in Hoboken at a church that we were going to. But we had to drive over the Connecticut border because that's where we're actually getting married. And as we're driving over there, Danny said, "Oh, yeah, that was my responsibility. I totally forgot to find a spot." And so his cousin,
Romantic, like by the water.
right?
Sure.
Yeah. All of Connecticut is.
His cousin said, "Well, here's the first rest stop. You want to stop here?" And we said, "Sure." And so my uncle, who at the time was a retired Lutheran minister, did the service under a tree and a light. And my mom and sisters were there, Danny's cousin. And he's a very proper Lutheran minister. And even his short version was still like 30 minutes long.
Oh my God.
That is a great story.
That's amazing. I love that.
it. I love that. I
You
mean, to
just-
be fair,
I feel like your whole history is like the Eastern Seaboard, like Connecticut, New Jersey, Manhattan.
I mean, the rest stops in Connecticut are quite nice. Let's just say. So, like, it's nicer than some of the venues here. Okay, so you get married. How did you both know you wanted to start a family? How did you have that conversation?
That's a good question. Yeah.
You can take that one.
So as he mentioned, he asked me out at the end of the softball season. So he planned the date. We went to dinner and a movie. And at dinner, I said to him, do you ever think about children? Like, what are your like long-term goals? And he's like, yes. He's like, I'm going to have 3 children and their names are going to be Paul, Andrew, and Emily. No, Emma. So, yeah. And I was like, does your future partner get any say in these names? Because I don't think I like any of those names. So I don't know if anyone else would. So he's like, well, Paul is non-negotiable because that was after his brother who had passed away. And then he's like, Andrew and Emma, I just like the sound. So I guess those are negotiable. I'm like, all right, there's some compromise here. So I agreed to then go on to the movie, and here we are.
I love that. So you both wanted children. So how did you can't just have a child, the traditional way. So how did you go about figuring out the route that you did want to have a child, and how did that come to be?
Sure. So it was our first wedding anniversary, and we had posted pictures on social media. And a friend of mine that I went to college with, that we hadn't seen each other for a while, saw the post, and then she and I started talking. And then that was actually the summer New York passed gay marriage. And so she and I were just talking back and forth, and she's super excited because we're there. And she's a huge advocate for the LGBTQ plus community, always has been. She's an amazing woman. And then she said, oh, I just saw this story on one of the magazine shows about surrogacy. I'm thinking of doing it. And I said, ha, 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 would you be my surrogate? And she said, maybe.
Yeah, she said that.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
She's like, well, I absolutely adore you, but I don't know Danny. I would have to I would want to meet him before I made the final decision. So we flew out to Honolulu because she's a music teacher there in elementary school. And over the course of a long weekend, talked about it. And the end result, she said, yes, I'll be your gestational carrier.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So being that she was in Hawaii, it was kind of easier for her to come here. And she's a teacher, so we were kind of like working with a clinic in Connecticut, which has since closed. And we, worked out a schedule that worked for her so that she could try to time it so she could have like finish the school year and then give birth and then kind of have her summer to sort of rest up. So she came for some preliminary meetings, and then she came in October of 2012 for the transfer. And so she flew back to Hawaii. It was a little interesting, right? Because she's pregnant, carrying our child, and we're nowhere near her. So like we sent her care packages. We did fly out for the holidays and spent about a week with her and her son. So that was really nice. Yeah. And then once we got back to New Jersey, we started just kind of getting ready for like the anticipated birth, which was scheduled June 19th. So we are getting closer and closer. Our family was threw us a shower. And so the last guest had left the shower, and this is April 27th.
Yeah.
So David, we get a phone call.
We get a phone call, and it's the doctor at the hospital that she had gone to. She had developed preeclampsia, and so they needed to make sure that they started the labor delivery process, because you need to get everything out for both her health as well as the baby's. So we had a moment of silence after we got off the phone, and then we completely freaked out, cleaned the house, got tickets.
Well, you were energized and like, we gotta clean the house. I was just stunned. I was like, I was not expecting this. I didn't know what to do.
So we got on first flight the next day.
Yeah.
Connection in San Francisco, landed in Honolulu, and then got to the hospital in time to actually be there for his birth. And we didn't know if it was a boy or a girl at the time, so we had names picked out.
That's a fun surprise.
Yeah.
I love that. Now, I'm curious, if you don't want us to share this part, we can cut it out, but what is your son's name? Is it Paul?
It is Paul.
It is Paul.
Yeah.
We went with Paul.
And also one of Diane's friends, she's a local native cultural practitioner in Hawaii. And she said, he has such a fighting spirit. If you would like, we would like to give you the name Kekoa, which means brave warrior in Hawaiian. And so his middle name is Kekoa, which is then how we got the name of our company.
I love that. Okay, so You get to Hawaii, you rush into the hospital.
Yeah.
What was the time frame there? Like, take us like as if we're watching a movie. Like, you get in
So
there, what happens?
Yeah, I mean, so it was like 9 o'clock at night. We got the phone call, East Coast time.
Mhm.
Hawaii is 6 hours behind.
Right.
mhm.
So David was on the phone with like customer service with the airlines. Like he's like, "This is not about you, but I need your supervisor because I need somebody who could like has decision making
Yeah.
powers." We were on a 6 a.m. flight, so we left the house like 4 a.m.
Yeah,
I think we slept like 45 minutes. Um,
maybe.
and then so we texted his sister, I think she's in Colorado. So she was actually texting with Diane,
Mm.
just kind of like to be support for her while she was there in the
I love that.
hospital. And the nurse had, you administer Pitocin to help induce the birth. Um, so anyway, so the nurses were kind of working with us and trying to make sure that we could be there because Diane was kept trying to explain to them because they kept calling her mom and she's like, "This isn't my child. I'm giving the baby back."
Yeah.
So when we landed,
They're on their way. They're on their way.
they were working with us, and then once we landed in Honolulu, they increased the Pitocin again, and so we landed and
We
got
landed
to
in
the
the
hospital.
like mid-afternoon by the
Mhm.
time that we got there. Got to the hospital, and then Paul was born that evening.
Like 6:55.
Yeah. And then he was rushed off to NICU. He was supposed to be there for 6 to 8 weeks, and he got out in about 3 weeks. And
Wow.
Diane then had to go to make sure that she was well cared for and that she was going to get on the road to recovery herself. And so she had to be admitted to the hospital. And yeah, it was kind of a scary moment for a little bit. But
Yeah.
the best thing was Diane got healthy. She's amazing. She's wonderful. Our son is clearly healthy, so that all worked.
Yeah, and she's Auntie Diane, so
Mhm.
I love that.
that. Yeah, she's involved. I have a very silly logistical question, which is: so you get to Hawaii. The plan was to give birth in Hawaii or not to give birth in Hawaii?
No,
It was. It
The
was.
Okay.
plan was to give birth in Hawaii. Where did you have to find an Airbnb to stay in for 3 weeks? Did you have any plans? That's how my mind always goes. I'm like, where did you sleep? You're there for 3 weeks. You kind of have to move in a bit,
yeah, we slept on the floor in Diane's apartment.
right? Because
So
I guess you're at the hospital most of the day with the baby anyway, as much as you can be.
yeah,
Yeah.
so she was only a few blocks away from the hospital, so it was a short walk.
Yeah, it was like a 15-minute walk, which was nice. But it was also nice for us because we got to, once she got discharged from the hospital, we got to hang out. We did shifts at NICU. And then we would come home together and have dinner. And then when Paul was discharged, then we got to hang out for a little bit longer before we had to get on a
Yeah.
plane. So that was nice to just have that, family moment together.
I love
It's a
that.
very special relationship, I imagine, very distinctive. And, it's an amazing gift that she gave you guys.
Yes, absolutely.
What
Yeah,
is it
very
like to see your son for the first time?
So, well, we both had very different reactions, which are both very on par with our personalities.
Yep.
So when he was born, he like Diane, she was pushing really hard, and they kept saying, "Please don't push. We're not ready yet." And she's telling them, "I have to.
Yeah.
But Tosin was pushing so hard. So he comes out and he kind of missed the doctor's hands and went right into the catch basin.
Okay.
And so what I see is this 18 inches long, 3 pounds, 11 ounces child that's 8 weeks early. And I'm just thinking oh my gosh, I've never seen a human that small.
Yeah.
And, what do we do? And then he did start crying right away. So that was a good sign. That
You want that?
but I was nervous and terrified. And
I grew up with lots of nieces and nephews, so I was around small kids and babies. And my mom's a retired RN, so by her being an RN, there was a lot more medical knowledge that I grew up with. So he was born and thought, okay, he's pink, he's crying,
Mm-hmm.
he has jazz hands.
Done.
yeah,
We're good.
he was-
He belongs
Love
with
it.
us. Perfect.
I love it.
So you go back. The baby's in the NICU. You're on the floor at Diane's. Paul comes out of the NICU. You're there for a little while, and then you fly home
I was going to ask
from
that.
Honolulu back to the East Coast with a newborn.
Mhm.
Can you tell, was that
We stopped off in Arizona first because that's where my mom was living at the time, along with
okay?
my other sister and some nieces and nephews.
Mm,
Thought it'd be nice to break up because that flight, it's a long flight.
very smart.
And
Yeah.
so we spent a week there and then came back to New Jersey, and we were back in New Jersey before his due date.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
Wow.
a lot of
I was
people.
going to say, yeah, because you said he was 12 and then you said June 19th. And I thought, well, he's not almost 13. And then I was like, oh, this baby was born early.
Okay, so then what happens when you get home? Do you both stay? Do you have like paternity leave? Like who's home with the baby?
So we both had some leave. Being that I was in education, I had
Mm.
8 weeks that I could take.
Mhm.
So I was, then of course I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, we don't have a daycare plan set up because we still had 4 weeks to kind of figure something out.
Yeah.
So we were kind of like doing that, like going to visit places and trying to get organized. So we did find a place in Bloomfield and we really liked the manager there.
We were both off on paternity leave for about 10 weeks each and at the same time, which was great because the job, because I worked in the entertainment industry
Mhm.
and my former employer had really amazing benefits for new parents. So we were able to have that time, which was really great, and have that bonding time and make sure that we were able to find the daycare that was appropriate for his needs, which
Yeah.
was a huge relief.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so well, clearly, if you go forward in time, you founded a baby food company. So there has to have been some story about why you founded the baby food company back in your story. So where did that all come from?
Well, that came from the fact that the two of us love to cook and we both love to eat. And is there a type of food out there? Then we like to eat it. So I wanted to make sure that he had the most nutritious food possible because, there's a lot of, because he was 8 weeks early, I wanted to have him nutrition. But because we love to eat, I wanted to make sure that he had a lot of flavor and would enjoy food as he was growing up, and did research and realized there's a lot more capability of introducing foods than people actually realize, because you can include lots of herbs and spices, lots of vegetables.
Yeah.
Obviously, every child's different, so you have to talk to that pediatrician to make sure that everything is on par appropriately for that child. But yeah, I made all of his own food, included herbs and spices. He was eating curry vegetables at 8 months old, and people were just amazed. I would post on social media all the different food because I would spend all day Saturday or Sunday making weeks worth of food that I could use, and post all the different recipes that I had done. And everyone kept saying, your son's eating better than I am. And if I could eat what he's eating, I would buy that in a second. And so, ooh, that would be a fun thing to do. Let's start
Casual.
Yeah.
What was your favorite thing to make for Paul when he was little? And what's your favorite thing to make for him now?
I would say there wasn't a specific thing that I like to make. The sensibility of finding new ideas and concepts and herbs and spices to include different types of vegetables. Should I roast it? Should
Textures.
I pay it? Should I bring in different, flavors from that aspect of cooking? I think that's what got more excited about, is kind of the recipe that I was creating for him.
Yeah. And David kept saying, if he doesn't like it, then we can just eat it. We can turn it into like a soup or something.
Yeah.
But he always really loved the recipes. And as we started launching the business, he had to approve every recipe in the plan.
I love that. I love that. I think so much of the child's palate is like them too. And I think you obviously have very exciting, expansive palates, and there's got to be some genetic component to that. So he was that was part of it. And also like what you introduced them to it's just so unique to each child. It's so fascinating. It's making me very hungry right now to listen to this conversation.
Okay, so question for you, which is harder, creating a baby or building a business?
Raising a baby or building
I think it's creating the business.
Yeah. I agree with you, by the way.
Between the clinic doing what they needed to do and Diane creating the actual life, and going through that, I think for us, it would be the business.
Yeah, I would agree. The business.
Okay, raising a baby versus raising a business, though.
That's probably a tie, I think.
The tie, yeah.
Depends on the
Yeah.
day, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
each comes with its own, right?
Yeah, and they go through different stages. You're
Yeah.
so as soon as you think you figured it out, they change.
Mhm.
So whose idea was it initially to start the business, or was it kind of like a conversation?
It was mine.
And it wasn't really a conversation. Started
Okay.
doing, what are you doing? What's this business? You're tweeting.
Like, well, I thought we could do a business, and Danny said but you're just doing a business plan at the dining room table, and I thought, well, hopefully.
Yeah.
So kind of working on it solo, and then in 2018, I started getting more intrigued, and I'm like, let's either like you go full into this, or we realize that this was just a hobby, and if you want to do it like small scale, fine, or you can move on. So we decided to do a Kickstarter campaign, and we had a consultant that was kind of helping us to develop like a marketing campaign around it, so that we could draw folks to the Kickstarter. And we were telling friends about it, and a couple friends were like, "Oh, that sounds amazing. Too bad I can't support you." And we're like, "Why can't you support us?" They're like, "Well, my children are older. I can't buy baby food. Like that would be a waste of money. Like, what am I going to do with it?" So I reached out to a colleague from John Jay, who's a community activist here in Jersey. And she said, I'm going to introduce you to the New York YMCA, because they have a residence hall with 200 families and 80 infants at any given time. And they're always looking for folks, especially like healthy food that they could provide to the residents there. So when we called them and like pitched our idea, they're like, "What do we have to do?" We're like, receive the food. We're like, "Okay, we're in." So, we set a goal of 25,000, and about 40% of our proceeds went to the families at the YMCA.
Oh my
love
gosh, I
that.
love that.
What I realized in working full time on the Kickstarter while also full time on our jobs was that we work well together. Like we can divide and conquer. I like spreadsheets and analyzing data.
I do not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I get
that's
it.
usually the breakdown. The idea person and the spreadsheet person are usually not the
Yeah.
same person.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
That's
no, I
our
totally.
dynamic too.
Yeah, I totally get that. So what has been some of the? Oh, go ahead, Jenny.
Oh, I was going to ask, you have a multi-generational household, and there's a couple of animals running around too.
Yes.
And so I'm just wondering, like, I don't know, any reflections on that? Wonderful things that have come out of that, or things that were surprisingly frustrating. Olivia lives in a multi-generational household too, and I think it's such a wonderful thing if you can do it.
Yeah, I agree. It's difficult and wonderful, all equally combined. So it's amazing the fact that we're able to care for both of our moms, along with 'cause my sister's here, and the three of us take care of the two moms and our son. And I'm so happy to be able to have that ability to do that, because one's 90, one's just turned 88. And, but it's also really nice for, our son to have that in his life, to be able to live with his two grandmas. But, being at 88 and 90, they come with a lot of challenges because of the healthcare that they need. And so it's very frustrating at times. And, like any family, you have moments of losing your patience to the next second you're like, "Oh, sorry," and then you get up and you move forward, and it's all good. But yeah, it's definitely a wonderful mixed bag. But I think that just represents how great life is, because life is not always super happy or always terrible. It's that happy balance that you have to have, because one really helps you understand the other when you're kind of on one side of the fence with the other.
Yeah. And I think like our son, the one thing we always say is that he has a really high emotional intelligence. So I think being around his grandparents, seeing people who are kind of physically struggling with something, but then also there's like the emotional ups and downs of living here. I think he's really good at sort of identifying when someone is, not being polite or, the most respectful. And so like, he's good at calling them out, whether it's a friend of his or even his own grandmother. So I think that's something that, he's going to take with him, and it's going to make him a really, kind, good human being.
Oh, I love that.
Raised very intentionally. I have no doubt.
Yeah,
Like by
very
two very
intentional.
thoughtful people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of love in your household, I'm sure. I love that. What do you guys love to listen to music-wise as a family?
Kind of everything.
Everything. We'll put on Pandora or Spotify, and I would say there's nothing that isn't played. I think one of my favorite things, the fact that our son will start just randomly singing like James Taylor or ABBA or Britney Spears or Lady Gaga. Granted, these are all themed artists, so certain sensibility.
Great music. They're
Yeah.
deemed to being great music is what you're
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. I train. I have 2 sons. They're 8 and 11. We literally have trainings to learn all the lyrics to You Can Call Me Al. I told them they are not allowed to graduate high school unless they learn all the lyrics. So the business has been around for a while now because you started it back in 2017, 2018.
Yeah, so we did the Kickstarter, and then we spent time figuring out, like, okay, we need to get our supply chain all organized. And it's taking a little bit longer. But during that time, we realized that, one of us needed to go full time. And I was like, well, I'm in education. You're in entertainment. You make more money. So I'll go first. And he's like, but this was my idea. How are you?
Sorry. Should have
Yeah.
made less money.
I guess that's the counter for me putting the business plan together and telling them we're just doing it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
January of 2020.
Balance.
Yeah.
January 2020, we finally were like ready for me to, take the leap. So resigned from a tenured administrative tenure.
Wow.
And we're like, 2020 is going to be an amazing year with lots of opportunity.
Mhm.
So, we were like moving a little bit closer to going into production, and then March happened and everything fell apart. And, some of the relationships we had were imploding because their businesses were imploding and they were just trying to figure out what to do. So we kind of regrouped and set up everything on the West Coast. And we were able to finally launch on Amazon in January of 2022. And so we had 3 products at the time. And then, as we started getting more involved in like trade shows and like different organizations, what we found is the CPG community is very friendly and like everyone's willing to help. So groups like Startup CPG and Naturally New York were great resources. And through the Rutgers Food Innovation Center, we were able to exhibit at the Fancy Food Show. There we met the forager from Sprouts, and fast forward, we got to pitch for the buyer. She actually stopped us halfway through the pitch and said, if you can have because we had just tested 4 new flavors. She's like, if you can have all 7 ready by May of 2023, I'll put you in all 400 stores. So,
Okay.
Thank you. And I'm like, we have more slides. And then like, you can't believe how hard he was punching me under the camera to like, so by May of 2023, we had our first retail expansion. It was nationwide with Sprouts. So it was quite the exciting, opportunity. And again, like, we had to scramble to like make it happen, but
it's all the behind the scenes that people don't normally see.
Yeah.
Once the camera went off, we both looked at each other, and I'm sure there was a few expletives. And how are we going to do this? And but we did it because that's what we do. We, if there are challenges that are presented to you, everything is fixable. So like, take it for what it needs to be, for what it's worth. Fix it, move past it. It's not a wall. It's usually just a hurdle, but at the time, sometimes it feels like a wall. And we just recalibrated everything, found all of the consultants that we needed to help support us. And we had a very successful launch with Sprouts.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
What does Paul think to have a brand named after him, and also like to have his parents that work together and like run a global food brand together? It's very cool. I wonder what he thinks of that.
Well, I think when he was younger, he thought it was all right. Maybe a little bit. It was kind of cool. But now I think he's so used to it. He just doesn't even think twice about it. But there are moments that he'll say something like, well, it is my company. It's my name.
That's 12.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Before we let you go, tell us about what you sell. Like, because people are going to be listening to this. What is the baby food that you sell? Why is it important? Like, why are you guys different than any other baby food out there?
So we sell all 100% certified organic, palate expanding, globally inspired recipes. So each product has a gentle herb or spice to get little ones excited about eating their vegetables and fruits without added sugars. So we have 5 veggie forward flavors: beets, fennel, and kale, which has basil, cumin, and balsamic vinegar. We have a shawarma, which the spice blend is a special blend. There's no pepper or heat to it. It's just savory spice. And so that's shawarma, artichoke, and cauliflower with navy beans. We also have a curry vegetable mango. Again, no spice like heat in it, just the flavorful herbs and spices. And then it also has roasted garlic and caramelized onion. So the idea is to really expand a child's palate and have them try vegetables in different ways. And we just launched our taste training program last fall. So we have the curriculum on our website so parents can kind of read through it and see like different ways to introduce, vegetables and herbs. So they can use our products, or they can also make their own recipes at home, just kind of following our tips. And the idea is to introduce those bitter vegetables earlier, because those are the ones that kind of take a little bit of time to appreciate. And then to introduce fruits, because, we are predisposed to love sweet. People are going to love anything that has a sweet flavor. So our apple ginger, which is just 2 ingredients, and our mango paprika with a hint of lime, just 3 ingredients, those are introduced more at the end. But the idea is to, really help our children become familiar with vegetables, because we eat what we know. And introducing them earlier will give them a better opportunity throughout life to eat healthier foods for life. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Meanwhile,
first of all, my mouth is
think both of
watering,
our
number one. But secondly, where were you 12 years ago? Because when I had my first son, I was paleo at the time, and so I was making everything myself also, and it was similar to what you were doing, not at the same level by any means. But I was a teacher too, and I was taking hours and hours doing this. I would have spent anything to get food
Any
like
amount
that,
of money,
any amount. But why is it limited to babies? Because I want all of what you just said.
The best part is that it's not. And you'll find us on the baby food aisle in grocery stores, but adults are really enjoying our food because they incorporate it into other foods. For example, they'll use the beet, fennel, and kale as a salad dressing on greens, or they'll use our squash, kale, and turmeric in 2 ways, either as a soup, or they'll mix it with noodles. So you're getting the nutritional value of our pouch, but then also having something familiar, because our veggie pouches for adults is 25% of your daily RDA of vegetables. So they are nutritious. Yeah. So a lot of people are really incorporating the pouches with other foods, or they're just eating it as a snack, or they're putting it in their backpack and using it to go out or something like that. Because the thing that I love the most is, just a curry vegetable mango. The thing I love the most is when someone tastes it. It doesn't matter if it's a baby, a child, or an adult. Their immediate reaction is, "Oh my gosh, that actually tastes really good. That has good flavor."
It's like, why would you, why is it that the expectation is that it's going to be not something?
Yeah, gross. I mean, repackage it and call it a sauce, and like that, you got a whole other aisle of the grocery store.
Well, I was
going to
say it's really family food, right? Really, really, what you're making is family food, not baby food.
Yeah,
and I think that. Because as you're talking, I'm like, you could dip chicken in this. You could have like a salad. Like I think and also I would imagine it's great for people recovering from surgeries or anything like that, right? Like because it's soft, it's easy to eat. It's just brilliant. I love the idea so much. So before we let you go,
I'm in Scotland, and so it's almost 7:00, and my husband is making dinner, and it smells amazing, and you're saying words that are so delicious.
I know,
and I'm like,
all of
I'm
it.
so hungry right now.
So where can people buy all of the products?
Sure. So, we mentioned that we launched in Sprouts Farmers Market. We're in Wegmans across the Eastern Seaboard, as well as ShopRite. We have our own website. It's kekoafoods.com, KEKOAFOODS.com. And if they use code FS25 for Fresh Stories, you get 25% off their next order.
Amazing.
And yeah, we're also available through Amazon and a lot of other like local
Well,
retailers.
I'm gonna go order some because honestly, because I work
Gave her-
upstairs in my
You
house.
love that.
I need snacks. I need like food. This
Yeah.
is just brilliant. Before we let you go, if somebody is thinking about starting a family or starting a business, we'll say, what would be some words of encouragement that you could just leave them with today?
Yeah. I mean, if they're thinking about starting a family, I would say, I struggle between whether he was the best decision I made or our son, but I would, like, I can't imagine living, life without our son.
Yeah.
It was definitely the best thing we ever did. So, people have asked me that and I've said it, like, if you're on the fence about it, I think just go for it and do it because, once you meet your child and, the love you feel for them, it's incredible.
And
Love
for the
that.
business side of things, I would just say, and this relates to life and having kids or not having kids, is the ups and downs. Don't let the downs are going to be really frustrating sometimes, but don't let it always. And then also, when you have victories, and they're going to be small and big, celebrate all of them because it's really important to take a moment to step back and be prideful of what you have built and what you have accomplished and what you have done. So, because so much of the time, especially small business owners, they're constantly forging forward and they forget to look back at all of the great stuff that they've actually accomplished.
Okay, I take that personally. I'm hearing it. That resonates.
Yes, I think you needed that today. Amazing. Danny and David, you guys are amazing. Like I love to stay in touch with you and just keep up with everything. I think as I learn more and more about the business, I'm thinking about other ways to use this food. Like I'm even thinking about during divorce. Like I didn't want to cook for my kids during divorce. And I would have been amazing to have like vegetables and fruits that I could throw at them in a packet and bring to the beach, bring to
Or add to
McDonald's,
noodles.
wherever we were going.
Right.
Like, and so I love what you do. I love that you do it together. Please stay in touch with us because we want to hear about everything that's happening. And thank you for being here and sharing your story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you for
both.
having us.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Olivia, so much.
It's a fresh story, come and see. With Olivia and Jenny, be who you need to be. Honest voices, safe and strong. Come as you are, you belong. So take a breath, let's begin. You're not alone, we're here again.